Alrighty guys, hopefully you have now seen Split and you have come onto this video because you want the ending of Split explained. I'm assuming you've all seen it. So here's your warning, huge spoilers coming in this video. If you have not seen Split, make sure to watch that first. If you want Split spoiled for you, watch this review anyway. But let's continue with my spoiler review of the new movie, Split. Now, I'm going to discuss some very specific things about the movie Split. We are going to cover the plot, why Kevin left Casey alone, what Bruce Willis is actually doing at the end of the movie, and my predictions to what Shyamalan should do in Split 2. Now, let's cover the plot. Now basically, the three girls are at like a party or something and Casey isn't supposed to be there or isn't supposed to be taken home by the other two girls and the dad. Kevin, the guy with the 23 different personalities, has been following those two girls around for 2 weeks now. And he just so happens to get in the car when Casey has been offered a lift home, which is even though she wasn't supposed to be. The other two girls. Now, Kevin is very unstable. Dennis and Patricia are the two different personalities out of his 23 who are most in charge and most malicious. Dennis and Patricia want to bring out this 24th personality known as the Beast. And Kevin's psychiatrist wants to always know what is happening with Kevin because she can't pinpoint which personality she's speaking to at most times. So she spies on him, she goes to his house at the very end of the movie and evidently gets bear hugged to death by the Beast. But before she gets bear hugged, she writes down on a piece of paper Kevin Wordle Crumb, I believe that's how you pronounce it. That's his full name. And earlier on in the movie, if you can remember, Kevin Wordle Crumb is the name she refuses to say to Kevin because she knows that that will cause havoc inside the mind of Kevin that will evidently cause him to lose control. We've skipped a whole part of the movie. That's because it doesn't really matter. Obviously, the three girls all get separated. Eventually, the two stupid girls try and escape. But there is this backstory with Casey. She's the only real character that gets, I guess, development. There goes through stuff with her dad in childhood and her uncle. Now, her dad teaches her how to use a gun and how to hunt for deer and, how to, track the deer. And that basically, it makes the movie very predictable and what will happen because, eventually she's going to get her hands on a gun and she'll know how to use it against the Beast. Now, I didn't personally like this flashback stuff with the dad, but eventually it progressed her character so well and you made her care about the character because you find out the dad dies and the uncle takes control of her. But you find out that the uncle possibly could be sexually abusing her when in the scene in the forest when he's like, take all your clothes off, we're going to be animals. So that was really confronting because you're like, oh wow, the uncle's not good, and she pulls a gun on him, supposedly going to shoot him, but eventually does not do that. Now this could lead into later on in the film, in my second point, as to why Kevin, or the Beast, leaves Casey alone. Now obviously, the Beast chases Casey, she's got her gun, and eventually she locks herself inside that cage and the Beast, you can see it, literally pulls the bars open and you can see all the veins on his back, which is the point in which the movie loses some people because it's realistic up to that point. It's just not, the movie doesn't really fit in the movie as to why he turns into a beast when this is a real life condition of multiple personality disorder. It just doesn't work. But obviously we'll get into that later. So he's pulling apart the bars and she takes her top off, revealing that she's got scars on her shoulders and near her belly. This could be self-inflicted because of her uncle, or it could have been inflicted by the uncle. We're really not sure yet. Kevin ultimately leaves her alone because she is pure, in his words. He wanted the other two girls that he eventually eats, because they have lived a perfect life, unlike Kevin, who's obviously that his parents have died and he's got this multiple personality disorder, and he almost envies people that have that perfect life, which is why he kills those two girls and does not kill Casey, because he knows she's gone through a lot of shit. She's been abused by her uncle, maybe self-inflicted on herself, and Kevin can see that on her, which is why Kevin leaves her alone and runs away into the night. We can get into the next point after we go through why Kevin is this beast. Now, you ultimately find out that he's been working in a zoo. After that lady's like, "You're very good at your job." That's my impersonation of her. And you find out that he's an amalgamation of all these different animals he's been taking care of in this zoo. Mainly like rhinos, because he's got rhino-like skin, and tigers because he's really fast, and he ultimately eats the girls. When she gets her hands on the walkie-talkie and she hears someone on the other end and they don't know what's going on, that was the guy, supposedly the guy at the top in the zoo on security, which is why that he didn't understand what was going on. He thought it was a joke. So that clears up that loose end. But we've got the loose end of Bruce Willis. Now, this is where it starts getting good. In my review, you can remember that I say the last 2 minutes of this movie is the best 2 minutes of the movie. And that can be a good thing for some people, that can be a bad thing for some people. It personally gave me goosebumps, it made me so happy. Now, we are going to explain this scene. They're in the diner, the things on the TV, like, alright, there's been a catastrophe, 2 women have died, and 1 has escaped unharmed. Obviously she got a bite in her leg, but mainly she's unharmed. And you see all the people like, oh shit, this is really bad, this guy's still on the loose. And then you hear one lady like, oh, that reminds me of the guy 15 years ago in the wheelchair. What was his name? Bruce Willis comes out of nowhere, freaking nowhere, and says Mr. Glass. And he's still got his little name badge on from the movie Unbreakable. Holy freaking shit. Unbreakable, man, you find out that this movie takes place in the Unbreakable world. 15 years, more than 15 years after Unbreakable was made. That is freaking awesome. Good on Shyamalan. I think the best twist in any Shyamalan movie. It was so good, and that clears up the whole Kevin thing turning into the beast, because you're like, it doesn't make sense, but it does make sense because it's almost a supernatural world in which people have powers like Bruce Willis, who can see all the bad stuff that people are doing, and he also has super strength. Man, this explains the beast and why he could turn into someone else. He is a super villain. So this Split was ultimately an origin story for Kevin. Holy oh my god, this is why I love Split so much, because I did not expect that twist. It was just so unexpected. Now, we are going to get into something else now. How I think Split 2 or Unbreakable 2 will turn out. Now, if I was directing Split 2 or Unbreakable 2, God help me, I would never be able to do that, but this is exactly how I'd do it. You need to bring the girl and her uncle back, because that's a loose end. And Bruce Willis obviously likes the little not petty crimes. At the end of Unbreakable, you can see that he saves the family from that abusive guy in the orange, now known as the Orange Man. So I can see Bruce Willis going to this girl's house, because Bruce Willis is like, alright, I've got to take this guy down, this beast guy down. How am I going to do this? Let's go speak to the girl that survived him, and let's ask her a few questions. This is how I assume that M. Night Shyamalan can go. Now, I can see the girl and Bruce Willis teaming up, because imagine this. Bruce Willis knocks on Casey's door. Casey answers. Casey's like, who are you? And he's like, I've got to ask you a couple questions about Kevin and your experience with him. She lets him in. The uncle like comes out of nowhere. He sits down. He's like, who are you? And then he's like, oh, I've just got to ask Casey a couple questions in regards to her experience with Kevin. He's like, no, can't have that, get out of our house, because obviously the uncle is abusive of Casey, I would assume, and very protective over her. Bruce Willis having his power whenever he touches someone or just clips them, he can see bad things that they've done. So when, let's say, the uncle is pushing Bruce Willis out the house, Bruce Willis can see what the uncle has done to the daughter, and then the audience can now see what the uncle has done and what extremes he's actually gone to abuse the daughter. Bruce Willis sees this. Bruce Willis turns around, ultimately gets rid of the uncle and says, look, right, you have to come with me, you can't stay with this guy, I know what he's done to you. So Casey runs off with Bruce Willis. Casey helps Bruce Willis take down Kevin. That is my perfect idea of what can happen with that. Now, my second idea can be with Kevin. Ultimately, I can't see Bruce Willis taking down Kevin because I just see Kevin being too much of a strong foe. And in Unbreakable, you can just see Bruce Willis barely take down the guy in the orange. He has to choke him out. It takes him a while to do that. And Bruce Willis is very much human, other than his superhuman strength. And he can see bad things that people have done. That's all Bruce Willis can do. And he's obviously not good with water. So, I think Bruce Willis and Kevin can be related in some way. Mainly when Kevin puts the flowers on the train tracks. You don't know why he does that, but I'm going to assume M. Night Shyamalan can build on that and say that Kevin's parents died on the train that Bruce Willis was on when he found out he had powers. Now that would be ideal because Kevin can be like, you could have saved my parents, you were on that train, maybe you did that, and Bruce Willis can bring the thing up with Samuel L. Jackson, and then that can all happen. That's how I can see that happening. Ultimately, I don't know if it will go that way. I'm sure M. Night Shyamalan will do it in a much better way, but that's my ideal way of Unbreakable 2 or Split 2 turning out. When I finished watching the movie, my jaw was on the ground. I had goosebumps. Obviously, I had to explain to the people around me. Some people still didn't like Unbreakable when I asked them to watch it, but still, I loved Unbreakable. I can understand why you don't like Unbreakable because it's a very grounded superhero movie. I don't think Split was in any way grounded. I felt like the ending really was supernatural and did not see it coming, kind of like the end of 10 Cloverfield Lane. It was very unexpected, very out of left field, did not see it happening like that at all. I don't know how Shyamalan's going to make it more grounded because obviously Kevin's really supernatural, and I don't know if he's going to make him more grounded in some way. Who knows? But we'll see what happens in Unbreakable 2 or Split 2. We don't know yet. Maybe he won't even make it. I hope he does. Maybe if I become a director, I'll make it. Who the hell knows? But yeah, if you liked this video, please leave it a like, comment, and subscribe. And tell me if you liked my predictions of what can happen in the next M. Night Shyamalan movie. And tell me if you like me doing these spoiler reviews. Man, I've still got to get over Split. My God, I've still got goosebumps from it. Obviously go see Split if you haven't already. So please like, subscribe, and I'll see you guys later.